Hello, everyone, and welcome to the real world. My name is Sol, and I will be your guide for today's review. Today, we're going back in time to the greatest year, 1999. We're digging up The Matrix. The Matrix 4 movie is coming out here soon, and I wanted to prep, maybe rewatch the Matrix films. I'm a small Matrix fan. I really enjoyed Matrix the first time I saw it. The sequels, I wasn't a huge fan of them, but I didn't hate them like a lot of people did. That being said, I had not seen the film in a considerable number of years, so I was very interested in revisiting The Matrix, re-establishing my rekindling of resurrecting the reloaded revelations of remember The Matrix, guys. It's a great film. Anyway, the first time I watched this film was actually in school. I don't know why. And I remember I was gone the second day that they were playing the film, so I just saw the first half. And I was like, well, I want to see how it ends and hopefully watch it in a more suitable condition. So I did, and it was dope. I think that was before like a lot of these like Ready Player One sort art, like all the things that have been inspired from the Matrix. Maybe not those specifically, but the idea that we could all be living in a simulation. It wasn't a new idea at the time, but Matrix is what brought this to the forefront. And I had thought of that everything could be a simulation before, but I never really was able to contextualize it until this film did it for me. And it's still a stylistic movie, the green hue at the phase one of the movie, followed by all the leather jackets and sunglasses. It's kind of pretentious. It's a very pretentious movie at the same time. Everyone is acting like a D-list actor, even the ones I've seen act really good in other films. I think I'll get all my problems out the way first. The first act of this movie is somewhat dreadful. They're trying to really establish that Neo, his real name is Tom. Tom is a geeky computer nerd, and this is the first time it's ever been cool in a film before. So he's such a badass. He's not going to work. The agents trying to find him, but they can't find him. Like he's hiding behind like a cubicle, and they're like, "Where is he?" The people who run the simulation. And there's a lot of words like AI, EMP, and these things are spoken about as if they're new thoughts when a genius hacker who discovers that life is a simulation, maybe he should, I don't know what AI is already. Stuff like that is, a little weird, but it was a different time in 1999. We had to catch everyone up to speed. That being said, though, there are 100 ways you could do that without making characters look dumb. I think that's another one of my main gripes about the film is it's not very well written. I mean, in like basic movie structures, and I know that like the script goes really in depth with the world building and it goes in depth with the action scenes, and that's great and all, but like the dialogue it needs to be worked on. It feels like the first draft. Not a big fan of that. And there's plot holes. Why is the Matrix? Why don't the machines just put everyone to sleep right away? There's a lot you could not like about the film. There's a lot of cliches. You got the whole Jesus thing. Trinity and Neo have zero chemistry, and I mean zip dad none, none ya, absolutely not. Rock bottom chemistry, and then they're just in a romance, and okay, I don't agree with this. And maybe the other biggest problem, it's fairly dated, and a big part of that is because so many movies adopted from the Matrix, and was able to perfect these somewhat new techniques that they were doing. It uses slow mo pretty pretentiously, and yeah, again, just going back to it being dated, a lot of the special effects, just like the green hue of like the letters, is such a '90s cliche at this point, and it's not it looks nothing like our modern day internet, and I think that's the biggest downfall. Is it couldn't obviously predict where modern internet would be, and part of it feels extra cheesy about that. It's like when it's still from the surfing the web uh days. And I'll say my last problem here. I know one of the main plot threads is this guy over here defecting from the group because he would rather just live in the Matrix. That is a wonderful concept. I think that's really cool. He feels completely justified in what he's doing, not like morally, but like it makes sense to him. I can see that. The only problem with that is I almost agree with him to a fault because the real world feels so shitty. It doesn't like seem like a battle that like needs to be won because the, they feel like they're living such miserable lives in this ship and everything's just gross and everyone just looks so pale and weird and awkward. Ironically, the Matrix, the world that we're used to, where you associate with the action, the colors, and it's a lot more enjoyable to be in the Matrix, and that's literally a plot thread in the movie, and it feels like it's against that. But anyway, let's talk about the stuff I like. I do think the casting in this movie might have been better. I think again, it just feels like first takes. It feels really weird how some of the actors act in this film, and some of that actually gets better in the sequels. I especially think Keanu, my boy Keanu Reeves, he definitely got better in the sequels. He was just, really awkward and monotone in this film, but like so was every character. It's weird. It's like they were told not to act. But at the same time, if you put someone else in Keanu Reeves' role, like I couldn't even boggle my mind around that. So I almost think, and Morpheus, I think is great. So it, Trinity's all right. I do think the casting could have been better, but at the same time, it's hard to imagine the movie any other way at this point with how iconic it is. So I really like the scene where Neo refuses to jump off the building. I don't know how comedic that was intended to be, but I found that hilarious. And of course, there's the scene where Neo wakes up, probably the biggest mindfuck scene for a lot of people. It really felt like that, like fine art that, like, obviously Ghost in the Shell inspired stuff, and yeah, it was somewhat beautiful and gross and weird, but that's the stuff in the Matrix that I really love. And when it plays with these ideas and actually is able to execute on them, sometimes it gets too pretentious. I do think the Oracle side arc in this movie is a little underwhelming. I do think the Oracle is interesting enough, and she has probably like some of the like most interesting lines in the film. It just leads, especially in the sequels, into more of really dumb supernatural stuff when it feels like we can just cover just the Matrix, just that idea. We don't need to go like I like keeping it at the spoon stuff. There is no spoon. I can do whatever I want here. That being said, when it goes past that, the Jesus shit, that's where I'm like, no. And I know when I review films, I don't really tie the like how historic it is. It really just kind of depends on how much of that I see and I care about, and like sometimes I feel that. And The Matrix is one of those times where it's like I saw some of the films I grew up on, like in that era when I was a small child, they were parodying The Matrix at the time, and like when I finally went back and saw it, it felt a lot more natural that way. Also, I think the villains are really great. Cypher actually makes for like a actually very interesting portrayal, like I said. And of course, you got Hugo Weaving as Mr. Smith, Mr. Anderson. Probably the most impressionable role I've seen in a long time. Just the smell of it. That's where you're wrong, Mr. Anderson. Yeah, Agent Smith, man. I love him. I love him to death, actually. I think he might be my favorite thing about these films. And that's really it. The first Matrix, the first time I watched it, I think I really got hyped about it. Rewatching it again, especially some years later, it's really starting to feel dated. Some of it's just goofy, and it's not like it was a perfectly masterpiece crafted film before that. It's rough, man. It's a little rough. The script, some of the acting, just some of the main ideas, certain set designs kind of boring. Like the first act almost entirely. Yeah, it has a lot of flaws, but I find it very charming through all that. But even like my buddies who we're all watching this with, one of them outright did not like this film, not one bit. And it's one of those films that I love, but like I can understand that. There are certain films I love, and I'm like, what are you talking about? You're all crazy. This one, yeah, no, I can get why someone would just not enjoy this film at all, especially if they watched it today. And it's unfortunately that's the case, but it is what it is. Hopefully, I can talk to you guys more about the second and third movie and the fourth movie maybe when it comes out. Animatrix, but yeah, that's really all I got. What we got another classic under our belt. Yeah, The Matrix, man. The only Wachowski movies I like. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. As always, if you enjoy this review, trust me, I have a lot more movie reviews. I have other classics, the other greatest films of all time. I should probably give a score before I say it's the greatest, one of the greatest of all time, because I don't know if I'd give it the same score as I did back then. Back then, I would have given it a 9, but as of watching it today, I'm going to give The Matrix an 8 out of 10. Very strong 8. Matrix is still a beloved movie in my books, but diminishing returns. That being said, thank you so much for watching, and until next time with that, I leave you.